Okay, I think I am live. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me go ahead and give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to get situated. Hey, Cash, welcome. Let me shout out all the members generally. Jenny, shout out to you. Whoo-wee, yeah, I scheduled it. I know I'm a little like 2, 3 minutes behind, but part of it is because I needed to make sure that we had the Twitter Spaces. I'm gonna be off camera. I'm not gonna be on camera because we're going to be listening to the Twitter Spaces, which is going to review the Unsealed Warrant. Hey, Chico, welcome. Shout out to everybody. Let me see everybody else that's in here. No Van Shoes, though. TJ, good evening. Welcome, everybody. Inquisitive, welcome. Generally, Jenny, I said hello. A Trap House and the other Bryan Kohberger was manipulated by this Bryan Kohberger, and there was a machete used and 10 white elantras. Lord, what are you guys talking about? 20 white elantras? Yeah, it's a lot of information that's coming about right now. Hey, Jess, welcome. All right, let me get this whole little thing going on, which shout out to Brian Entin. He'll be live here in about 5 minutes, and I feel like I'm right on time. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cue the intro. Hey, Chow Bell, welcome. Everybody hit the like button. Hey, Clem, let me go ahead and hit this little intro and give people some time to get in here so we can get started. Shout out to the 42 people in the chat and the 1 heart on Facebook. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Shout out to everybody. Guys, I have baby Bunny who's watching me in the corner of the room. I feel like she's my baby stalker right now. She's watching mom, like, what is mom doing? Shout out to everybody in the chat. All right, let me make sure I get everybody. Peekaboo, Angela, welcome. Welcome. Karma is a B. Hi, I am Karma. Welcome. Vanessa, Rico, shout out to you. Who else do I have here? Thrasher. Thrasher said that it is 10:25 a.m. here in Singapore. That is very far away from where I'm at. Shout out to you, Thrasher. And thank you. Hey, Gumby, welcome. Shout out to everybody. Guys, yeah, she's taking notes. You guys, she took my headphones the other day. She put them on. She looked really cute. We gotta do some pictures. Hey, Corrine, welcome. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys. Shout out to you, Miss Dailies. Dukes is in the house as well. All right, I'm just greeting all the beautiful, wonderful members. Yes, and hit that like button, guys. This unsealed warrant, guys, and shout out to everybody from California. Make sure you drop Here from Cali. Almost missed another one. Hey, when nature calls, shout out to you. The streets are hot, aren't they? The YouTube streets are pretty hot tonight. I'm just saying. In other sectors as well, as you guys know. Peekaboo. Nobody puts baby in the corner, right? You guys don't even know half. I just got some more information on my DM, and we'll just have to leave that for another live. Okay. Just how it is sometimes. But anyways, shout out to everybody. Bay Area in the house. All the hyphy-ness in the house. Shout out to you, Oregon. Hey, what, Brenda? Shout out to you. Thank you, guys. Okay, we got 60 people in the house. Hit that like button right now. So where are we at? Ooh, it's starting. We got to get going now because Mr. Brian Entin is going to start without us because, Twitter waits for nobody. Twitter waits for, oh, they haven't even started yet. I thought it started already. Let's go. Did they move it? They moved the time. Nope. Today at 7:30. Could be 9:30 Eastern. Come on. We're still waiting on it. They haven't started yet. So that is okay. Which I'm looking at the affidavit, or not the affidavit, I'm sorry, the unsealed search warrant, okay? And I'm reviewing it even more. So a couple things that we know thus far, all right, just so everybody's aware, is this man was stalking these women. Well, he was stalking the victims for quite some time. We're talking about months, okay? Oh, shout out to everybody from Hawaii. We're talking about months, months that they have been stalked, all right? Based on the information. We're also talking about, if you look at what they collected, and some of you guys put some really good information in the, because I posted it on the community tab. And let me go back in there real quick so I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about. In the community tab, I had like 9 comments, very interesting comments. Basically saying, Let's Chat says, okay, I understand the hairs, the dark red spot receipts, and the computer tower, but why does a fire stick or a single Dickie's tag have to do with 4 murders? Some of the stuff that they were collecting, we just really don't even know why they were collecting what they were collecting. Um, can anybody make sense as far as the Dickies? I don't know. But what do you guys think? Oh, and looks like it's starting already. Let me join this right now.
So just kind of wanted to go over it with everybody. We haven't really had any other
Right on
significant
it.
developments this week since I left
Let's
Idaho
see what
after
Mr.
the
Brian Entin has to say.
hearing the end of last week. So just wanted to get everybody up to speed. I have Jennifer Coffendoffer with me, former FBI agent who's been following this case closely. Jennifer, are you there?
Yes. How are you, Brian?
Good. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yes, this was a big surprise, right? At least
Yeah, I just missed you. I meant to watch you on News Nation a little while ago, but I got distracted. I'm working on another story too, so I suddenly lost track of time. But thanks for hopping on here. I know you've had a busy night.
Oh, no problem. Yes, look forward to it.
So what did you think when this came out? I wasn't expecting them to unseal it this quickly.
Well, I had a little bit of inside information. I don't know, they might even be on here, that it would be coming soon, that it was really just a matter of administration.
Wow.
And March 1st, was kind of the date I think some of us were looking for, that it wouldn't be unsealed after that date. It would be before. And certainly it happened quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah, no, same here. We had all put in the request for it, and then I wasn't expecting to get it. So if those of you who have it, it's I think it's like almost 20 pages long. A lot of it is just kind of a repeat of the probable cause affidavit from Moscow PD.
A lot of it was.
But there are some really big new nuggets. One of which we can talk about first, is the list of items that were taken from Bryan Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington. His office was also searched at Washington State University, and I tweeted a video of that, Jennifer. I don't know if you saw it. We actually, when I had kind of a slow day in Idaho, I went over to Washington State, found the building where the criminal justice school is, and his office was actually like downstairs in a basement. It was really weird being in that building, like thinking about him walking around there and going in and out. But anyway, the search warrant didn't really have any items taken from
That's
his
his
office,
office.
even though we know they searched it. But they do have the list of items taken from his apartment in Pullman. So maybe we can just go through them, Jennifer, and you can kind of tell us what you think. The first thing, one nitrite type black glove. What do you make of that, Jennifer?
So these gloves are very unique. They're unique because they fit very tightly on the hand. And the reason we even wore them in the SWAT program was because you needed to be able to manipulate things like flashbangs, as an example, that are very, more intricate. The trigger, to feel your trigger, things like that. So these are very specific gloves, and it's interesting. I thought there was only one. Of course, a lot of people jumped that, oh, there was the other glove that was, found 11 days, I think, after the search. From the pictures I've seen, there's, no match there. It's a completely different kind of glove. But it was interesting. There was only one. And I didn't quite know what to make of that. I would have expected the pair to be there.
Yeah, that is interesting one. Then one Walmart receipt with one Dickies tag, two Marshall's receipts. Granted, it doesn't say what's on the receipts, what items, but the first thing I thought was, I'm assuming there must have been something on there that they thought was relevant, or would they have taken those no matter what?
The receipt?
No, I think that they were relevant, possibly disclosing clothes or other items that he purchased, maybe those Van shoes, as a possibility. I think they're relevant.
Interesting. Dust container from, I don't know how to pronounce this, Bissell, Bissell Force, Power Force Vacuum. Is that common for them to get a dust container?
Well, first of all, Brian, are you not, you don't know about vacuums? That's Bissell.
Bissell? Yeah, I'm not like a big
Vacuum guy.
I'm not a big vacuum guy, no.
Okay. No, this
I do
made
have
a
a vacuum, but I'm not like a vacuum aficionado or anything.
Yeah, but no, that was very important, because if he did do any cleanup and just failed to empty it, and even if he didn't fail to empty it, or in other words, it was empty, there would still be remnants. And I think that that was a very good call. In fact, we haven't seen the warrant return for the dad's house.
Right.
But where, we saw him using a vacuum later, and I certainly hope that they grabbed the vacuums and shop vac from that search. So I was
Right.
happy to see this.
So what would be in there? Would it be like hair or DNA? I mean, what could be in a vacuum?
Oh, hair and fibers.
Fibers.
As you sweep up,
Dog hair.
even smaller particles of possible blood, dried blood. So it was very important that they get any cleaning type, brooms, brushes, vacuums, all of that should have been
I
taken.
wonder if they found anything in there.
So the next item is 8 possible hair strands. And one thing I was wondering when I was reading this on air on News Nation earlier, so they've got like 8 possible hair strands as one line item, and then later there's one possible hair strand, and then another line item, one possible hair strand. Are they separating those, do you think, because they were like found in different places, or you know what I mean, Jennifer? Like, because it's interesting how they separated those out in the list.
Well, how this works when you go in and you're responsible for evidence recovery is each room is labeled, typically with a letter. And you have different people responsible for that room and that evidence recovery. And then you have an overall sort of manager. But
Okay.
as things are being written, it is very possible that one person was writing hair strand, another person was writing hair, and then the person that put together the search warrant return, which is likely not the people that were keeping the logs and so on and so forth, he verbatim wrote what was on the log. That's one possibility. The other possibility I thought is they could be differentiating a strand, Brian, like long hair as opposed to a smaller hair.
I see.
Like a hair
I
strand.
could see it going both ways, but I tend to think whoever was doing that log maybe changed their vernacular.
Okay, interesting. So it might just kind of be semantics.
It could be.
When they say possible, one possible hair strand or one possible hair, I mean, I'm just thinking like I would know what a hair looks like. Why did they write possible?
You know, agents and officers do that just to cover themselves, because what would happen if what they thought was a hair ended up being a very small and very fine, tassel off of something, or
Mm.
some sort of, fabricy tassel. I would say it's 99% a hair. When you see possible, they're just covering their bases.
I guess they're waiting for it to be like officially tested.
Yes, exactly. They want to get the test results before they say absolutely a hair.
So then there was one Fire TV stick with cord plug.
The Fire
And
sticks.
I think when I've seen,
A lot
I
of you
don't
guys have
have a
said some
Fire TV
different
stick, but I've
things.
seen them at like Airbnbs that I've rented. I think it's kind of like it sticks into the TV,
That's what I
and
thought.
it's you can access Netflix and other shows through it.
Isn't that what Fire sticks are for?
I wonder why they would be interested in that.
Yeah, the streaming, right? Any and all streaming can go through a Fire Stick.
Right.
I think it could be
Someone
interesting
said
to
streaming
know
here.
what he was watching. Remember, I think also, as I understand it, you can stream things like YouTube,
Yep.
apps through that. So all that could be very telling. I mean, if you look at the Anna Walsh case, which is, in the news right now, Brian, I'm sure you've seen it. It's amazing all the things he was looking at, and it's possible Brian could have been using that Fire Stick to access apps about how to, from YouTube. So
Yep.
I could
Yep.
see them grabbing it.
Wow.
So we've got a lot of possible hairs, possible hair strand, and then one computer tower, which obviously would be very important, I would think.
Yes. Yes, that's key. The computer tower. And I have to say, I was really surprised that they didn't take anything from the office. It leads me to believe either he never returned to the office, that's their belief, and
Mm.
was undisturbed, or B, there was no computer there, that he had a laptop he took in and out. I was expecting something from the office, but it was vacation time,
Yep.
after November 13th. And it's possible
Mhm.
he never went into that office, and that's why they never took
Right, and
him.
it's my understanding he shared the office with another like grad student.
Ah,
So maybe you're right. He had a laptop and just kind of plopped himself down in there when he was
Can you
doing
imagine
work or
sharing an
whatever, or
office with
meeting with
him?
students. But maybe it wasn't like a place where he kept stuff, just since he shared it. And it was interesting because in the building where his office was, you've got part of the criminal justice, like faculty and professors on I think it was the first floor when I went in. And then down in the base. So I was looking for his office on the first floor and like chatting with the professors and stuff. And one of them was like, no, his office was down in the basement. So I went down into the basement, and it was kind of interesting because like on all the windows they had these, and I have some pictures, I could tweet them later. They had like these signs on the windows that said, basically, if you're here from the media, like call this media relations number. So I guess I wasn't obviously the only person that had like gone wandering around this building. But I went down into the basement, and then in the basement was where his office was. But that's when I found out
Next
that
to
he
the vending
shared it
machines.
with another person. Um, so, but again, it was just weird going in and out the front door, just like thinking how many times he had come in and out. And there were a lot of students
Yes,
there.
Linda.
Obviously, school had started again at Washington State University, and they're just like young students walking around, and it was just. I guess it was just kind of eerie being there. You know what I mean, Jennifer? Because it was like kind of thinking about him there around all these young people when mostly I'd been at the house where the murders happened, but to be in that setting, it just felt weird.
yeah, no, I totally see where you're coming from there. I can't imagine walking into 1122 King Road. I mean, like inside, how eerie a feeling that would
Oh
be.
my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, you would just, because your mind wanders. With everything we know, it wanders, and I could see yourself going in there and thinking, oh my gosh, when was the last time he was in here? Was he thinking about this, on a daily basis, when he
Yeah.
was in there? Just it's eerie. Did you get to see his office, Brian? Like the interior?
Yeah.
No, so they had it
Oh,
was like in an interior hallway that the door was locked. So I could only see I think it was office number 12, if I remember correctly. And I could see through the window and I could see the 12, but I couldn't see into the actual office. But the other weird thing was on the walls, they had names of all the PhD students, because a lot of them teach classes, and I noticed that his name wasn't anywhere. So I think they had gone through very quickly and gotten rid of like his name on all the sign up sheets and that kind of thing.
I wonder if he
yeah,
taught.
I could see them doing that.
Did he teach? Do
Even
we
though,
know?
he's obviously innocent in the eyes of the law. There's been a lot of information disclosed in that 19-page affidavit that would have many people believe he is guilty of this crime. So
Yeah. Well, let
it
me
makes
keep
sense.
going down the list here. So the
Sure.
computer tower, one collection of dark red spot, and then it says parentheses collected without testing. What do you think? I mean, so what, it just says one collection of dark red spot. What does that mean to
Yeah,
you?
what is that dark
Oh,
red
that
spot?
means they believe that that's possibly blood. Um, I guess that's a teeny bit obvious, but that's why they took it. They think it's blood, but they didn't field test it. And so, which is smart because you don't want to put anything that could alter it in any way with just a field test, as opposed to getting it to a lab so it can be extensively tested there. So they I was glad to see that. I was shocked to see not much more of that. I would have expected more, Brian.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't say what they found the dark red spot on though for that line.
That's interesting
Yes,
already.
it doesn't, and they're keeping it. When you do these evidence collections, you
It's
keep it
interesting.
very non-specific.
So
It's normal.
then it says two cuttings from I think it's uncased pillow of reddish brown stain, parentheses larger stain tested. So I guess some stains that they found on pillows.
Right. And they don't tell us the testing, but I would guess, that is blood. I
Yeah.
mean, that would be the inference. That's why they took it. They field tested it. And, it's going to be very interesting to see whether that's his blood or one of the victims' blood. That's what we don't know.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like would the victim's blood be on his pillow? I mean, well, how could you explain that?
Well, this is what I'm picturing. And please, trigger warning for anyone on here. In this sort of a crime, especially an arterial bleed would completely spurt out. Venal bleeds, no, but arterial bleed, yes. So I would think he would have had blood on his hair, blood all over. Now, I can't imagine him not washing and going to bed and using a pillow, for heaven's sakes, to sleep on with that. But we don't know. We
Right.
don't know what he would or would not have done after a crime like that. So it's possible, Brian.
And then the last item here, two top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains. So two top and bottom mattress, I guess they're mattress covers. It's kind of weird the way it's written. So multiple stains on mattress covers, that something, and then it says parentheses one tested. So I guess the same thing. It could be something connected.
Right. I mean, what did he? I don't know we don't know what he used that for.
Mhm.
These mattress covers, was it on his mattress and he laid down and, stained like that? We don't know what he did, but this certainly gives us a little bit of a window into that, unless he used those mattress covers to put something in that would have been soiled with blood. But that makes less sense to me.
Yeah. And then the one I skipped over was one possible animal hair strand, which I thought was interesting because I
The
immediately
animal.
thought back to Kaylee's dog.
Right,
I guess
Murphy.
they could try to, Murphy, they could, the doodle, they could try to connect that possible animal hair strand back to the dog. I mean, is that what you think they would be doing?
Well, the big problem with all these hairs is, to me, it's a principle, not to get too fancy, right? Lockhart's principle that basically on a crime scene, when you go to a crime scene, you bring things, and when you leave the crime scene, you take things. And that holds true too for apartments and anything people go in and out of. There's no way you don't leave something behind. So when you think about that principle, I was thinking about this apartment, all, different people who would have been in there, transference from, his father being there. Brian, did you report that they had a dog, the parents?
Yeah, so when I went to their house, I believe they do have a dog that they had. I'm trying to remember.
Whose parents?
I think they had the
Brian's
dog,
parents?
kind of in a back room because we were all just meeting in the living room. So I think Kaylee's parents do have a dog.
Kaylee's parents.
And what about, did you do any reporting
The
though
Labradoodle.
on the Kohbergers?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Kohbergers.
The Labradoodle. That's the
I
dog,
don't
right?
know that they have a dog. I went to their house and there
Kaylee
wasn't a dog
and
barking or
Jack's
anything
dog.
like that when I knocked on the door. So I don't know, but they definitely, I mean, there wasn't I didn't see a dog or any signs of a dog, but there could have just had like a quiet dog.
I thought that's where
Right.
the hair came
I
from.
guess the point is that, a hair could have been left there weeks ago, or months ago, years ago. So it'll be interesting to see if that dog hair pans out to be anything of importance, and that is the same goes for all of those hairs,
Yeah.
because of all the different people that would have been in and out. But you never know. The other thing is, just with Murphy, my understanding is one of the biggest pluses about doodles are they don't shed.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Labradoodles don't
So
shed.
there wouldn't be
Like
as much hair,
poodles don't shed.
Right. There wouldn't, and
but they
we
still
don't.
shed a little,
Yeah. I mean,
Clem,
it's
you're
going to
right.
be very interesting to see what these hairs test to. And of course, they could just be Brian's. They could be the father's. They get so many possibilities, but at least they took them. I'm just quite frankly surprised there's not more hairs.
Well, and one
With
thing I
fiber.
was surprised because Nancy Lou was out there and
Hey,
got all that video outside the apartment when they were pulling out all of the boxes and stuff.
they
The
have like
police.
a
Yes.
And it just looked like a lot more stuff than what's listed here.
I totally agree. I've been surprised at this list. I also thought they would have taken clothing, gloves, shoes, socks, because there's all this transference that could have taken place
ooh.
after that crime. Not
they
that he
saying-
wore any of that there, but
Oof.
there's could be a transference. I was just surprised
They have missed something.
at the lack of what's on that list. So,
And would they have to list everything they took?
they have to. I mean, there's very specific rules and timeframes, and you have to list everything you take within the parameters of the warrant return. And you sit there before the judge and you hand it to them, and they go over it, and you discuss it. That's how sort of a a return works. So I was surprised.
So
Christopher's
two other
trying to be
things
funny.
I noticed that I want to ask you about with the new unsealed warrant. Number one, it was clear that they went in to look for a weapon that was listed in part of the paperwork, that was one of their, reasons that they were going in, that they cited to the judge. But then obviously no weapon, no knife listed in what they took out. So I'm assuming that means that we still don't have a murder weapon at this point, at least that we know of.
You're right, Brian. We don't, that we know of, unless it was recovered at the parents' house or in the car, because we haven't seen those warrant returns. I've always been of the belief he would have hid that or buried it, saved it, certainly if he ever had any predisposition to commit another crime. But we don't know. But certainly, I think many people thought it could have been in his apartment, and
No
the
weapon
smoking
yet, Rico. You're
knife
right.
was not there.
The knife
Yep.
was not there.
If anyone has any questions for Jennifer, you can just comment underneath the like on the tweet where I tweeted this spaces, and I'm going to go through those in a second. But one other thing I wanted to ask you about, Jennifer, was when I was reading over everything, there was one part where it said that the victim's home contained a, quote, significant amount of blood, spatter, and cast off. And again, this was in when they were writing up why they needed to search the apartment. You know, we don't have the autopsy reports.
He's like echoing.
We've heard from the families that this was a brutal murder, but this was one of the first times I think I'd read it in black and white.
I think so
quote,
too, Sonny.
significant amount of blood, spatter, and cast off.
They need to mute something
Right.
over there.
It's, it was important to put that in the warrant paperwork because
Thanks, Phil.
they need to prove the and for the judge to see the violence that was there and why this spatter and cast off could be transferred. So it was important for them to put that verbiage in there. But it certainly paints that picture for all of us, right, of the brutality that took place. And as I said, you would believe, based on what happened, that he hit arteries, and arteries are going to spurt and splatter like that.
He knew
Yeah,
what to
spatter
hit.
and then cast off. Is that a common term to use?
I need Brian to mute.
I have to tell you that's an I haven't heard that particular verbiage, but how I read that is I think of spatter as being more small little spatter, smaller, and then I think of cast off as being a larger cast of blood.
Let me read through some of these comments. Sorry, I think there's a little bit of an echo that I have. I don't know why.
Yes,
but,
you do.
A lot of people are saying he could have used the mattress pads as seat covers, which is kind of interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Neither have I.
But why would you bring them back?
Right.
No, you wouldn't bring that back. That's why you wouldn't use it to dispose of anything and then empty out, say, your clothing and then bring that back, or seat covers and bring that back. I don't believe that would be unusual.
And he, like you mentioned earlier, he's innocent until proven guilty. But I mean, a lot of the things he's done as someone who, if he is in fact the killer, as someone who had all of this expertise and was getting his PhD in criminology. I mean, he kind of made a lot of mistakes, though.
Totally agree with you. I always say a lot of people are good behind the keyboard, behind the pencil, they're book smart, but he didn't think through, I don't believe, a lot of his moves. And that's part of being a narcissist too, right? He thinks he's going to get away with it. He fantasizes about it and he plays it through thinking, oh, nobody's going to see this car, and doesn't think about dropping the sheath or it dislodging. And then here we are using his phone, as opposed to another phone, thinking turning it off wouldn't be a red flag. So he made a lot of mistakes.
He did make a lot of
mistakes. I
mistakes.
wonder if that'll end up being a defense. A defense attorney could say, look, this guy has been studying this for years. And why would he, if he actually did it, why would he have made all these mistakes?
Well, I will say, just because that's my major too. And again, I don't have a PhD or wasn't working on a PhD, and I don't have a master's, but in studying it as my undergrad degree, you really don't study how to commit crimes.
No, you don't.
You certainly study the, criminal justice system. You study law.
Yep.
You study the administration of criminal justice. But
yes.
There's really, I can think of a deviant behavior class I took where we in-depth studied serial killers and sexual crimes and things like that. But it's not the mainstay of what you study. So I think it gave him somewhat of a leg up understanding the criminal justice system, but I don't think it gave him much of a leg up on how to commit this crime.
It didn't.
Yep, that makes sense.
He
Mariah
wasn't
on
very
Twitter
smart.
said, "Do you think he dropped the knife on the long route back to his house after the murders?" So I drove that route, Jennifer. I don't know if you saw that. There was one night on Banfield, we drove the route that he took, which was so interesting because it was like this really, really roundabout way to get from the house where the murders happened in Moscow to his apartment in Pullman. Like he went way out of the way, way down this country road in the middle of nowhere that took, I think it ended up taking us like 25 minutes where it would have taken like 10 minutes if you just went the straight route. But I was thinking if he did throw the knife out the window, it was all like country farmland. I mean, it seems like a really big, long area for them to search. And we never saw anyone out there on the side of the road or heard, we probably would have gotten a tip or something if they were out there looking.
Right. That would be so vast for them to search. And, I've always been of the belief that when he left, like you said, in seeing how elongated that route was, that he stopped and buried or stopped and otherwise disposed of the large part of what was incriminating, inclusive of that knife.
I think he hit it somewhere in that route.
Was smart and just posted pictures from when Nancy got all that video of them pulling stuff out. And now I'm looking, it took some screen grabs. Some of it is the stuff I can see the computer tower. I think a lot of it would they have brought a lot of supplies in when they were doing the search warrant, like bags of stuff, paper bags of stuff?
Always. Yes. You have your tech kit and, yes, you do. Boxes and these leather suitcase, briefcase things we discussed at another time. When you saw somebody bring that in, I don't remember when you saw that agent go in or crime scene.
Yep.
Analyst go in, and I described that as, oh my gosh, that's what was in my trunk of my car for years. They do. They bring a lot in. But I also thought when I saw those images, Brian, I thought we were going to have a true treasure trove. And I'm still a little bit just surprised at the lack of what was found.
That does explain, though, some of those big bags they were carrying out. Maybe that was just their some of the stuff they were using.
Because they carried out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's interesting.
I'm just reading through here to see if there's any other good ones. Let's see.
Do we know if they got any evidence from the car?
Mattress covers were car seats.
Oh, car seats.
Could have cut himself and bled on the pillow. That is true.
I believe that too. That's what I was saying. It's, is it from him or is it from them? At the beginning of the spaces, some of this blood and everything, it could be from a cut he sustained, and a cut that was, in other words, in that frolicking state with this knife being used, it is absolutely usual to nick yourself on these types of stabbings. And, I think that could be the case, that it's going to be his blood.
A lot of people are commenting that doodles do shed, Jennifer.
Oh,
so I had a feeling the doodle owners were going to speak up on that one. I think they do
I love
it.
Thanks, doodle owners.
Yeah.
All I have is a beagle, and he's a walking hair depository. Hairs everywhere.
But I didn't know.
Do you still have the dog that you rescued? Was it your son's?
Hey, Pigeon.
Yes, the beagle.
Is that the beagle?
My beautiful Simba beagle, but it's not mine. It is my son's, and this is a side note. But my son was going back off to college after break, and they would not allow him to take the beagle because they said he was just over 20 pounds, and you can only have 120 pounds. And so my son is heartbroken, and we've got to somehow get this dog to him.
But now you've got the dog, so you're not so heartbroken. If I remember, you were telling me how much you love that dog.
Oh, I love it. He's laying right next to me right now.
Okay. So a lot of people are commenting about the car, about what they may have found in the car. I mean, that's a great point. So that would be a separate search warrant since the
Hey,
car was located in Pennsylvania, and that is still sealed to my knowledge. We don't know what they got from inside the parents' house or the car, but I mean, it seems like they would have really like tore that car apart, Jennifer, searching.
They would have, and that is one of those searches that is going to be evidence response, recovery team intense. They're going to be, looking at as an example, the pedal, the pedal for trace blood, anything that he could have had on his hands, reached glove compartment, just putting his hand on that upholstery if it was not covered. You just cannot hide blood. You can't hide it, and it's going to be recovered if it was there.
Can't hide blood.
A few people still talking about the knife, saying, couldn't they use a metal detector along the route? I mean, it was such a long way. I mean, I guess they could, but again, having driven it, and it's very, very hilly out there, snow off and on, it seems like that would be really a lot, but I guess it's possible.
I mean, it would be great to get the knife. Certainly law enforcement would want that, but this case is made without the knife. It's, again, you want it, but it's not going to break the case not having it.
Yeah. Let's see. Someone says, Suzanne asked Jennifer, could he have changed his clothes before going into the apartment? And if so, could he carry stuff in, transfer stuff in, even if he changed his clothes?
Yeah. How
absolutely he
added?
could, unless every square inch of his body was covered, and even then, him taking off those clothes, there's going to be a transference.
That's weird.
Pulling it off over his head or even down over his body, there's a possibility of transference from whatever was on there, his mask and his clothing, that would have gotten onto his body, and the other clothing that he would have had to have changed into, which is back to my point that I was surprised they didn't take any clothing. And I do agree. I think he did shed the clothes and he shed the knife.
So this is a really good one from Julie. What's the significance or difference between the field testing of the blood stain and not the other? Because it did only say for two of them, I think it was, that when they put in parentheses field tested. Why would they field test versus just bottling it up or whatever and like sending it to the lab?
Well, the smaller spot that they had, they did not want to encompass that with their field testing material. In other words, it would have probably covered it and not left a virgin sample for the lab. It sounded like, at least from the description, that there was a much larger area, so they could just take a small sample to do a field test on the corner, say, of a stain. And they did that just strictly to see that they had blood as opposed to paint or some other item. And I believe they took it because it would have field tested positive for blood. We do that all the time. We do it with drugs. We do it.
She wouldn't
with,
have been able to see blood, right?
Blood, and it's normal to field test it. You don't want to bring something back that ends up being, as an example, powdered sugar, and you think you have cocaine.
Yeah.
Did he have help? That's a good question.
Let's see what else there is here.
Did his family know afterwards? What did the family know? We don't know.
The knife.
We don't know.
A lot of people interested in the knife. Did anything else stand out to you, Jennifer, we didn't talk about?
You made a comment.
No, not really. I think hopefully, everybody's concerned about there was a time, and me included, based on the fact that it seemed like a separate warrant language about being dangerous and danger to the people. Do you know what I'm talking about, Brian? But that's because all that language occurred prior to the arrest. These warrants were written prior to the arrest. There wasn't anything separated out. It was part of this boilerplate language for the the warrant information.
Are you serious, Sonny?
Does that make sense? I never understood why they took so long on the affidavit, since the other affidavit was released, and really that's the meat and potatoes, right, of this warrant as well. But I think it was just an administrative situation, and that's why we haven't seen Pennsylvania too.
Well, and there's so much we don't know. Like obviously we got the probable cause affidavit. We have this little search warrant, which gives us a few more details. But I think like we all forget sometimes, not you so much because you've done this more intimately, but been on the other side. But like there's still so much we don't know. That I guess a lot of it will come out at that preliminary hearing in June.
I 100% agree with you, Brian. But remember that probable cause hearing, or that's what we call it in the federal system, but they call it a preliminary hearing. It it's going to be limited to the 19 pages, which is still a lot. Normally, a probable cause affidavit is about 3 to 5 pages, if that, because it's really just the lowest threshold of you know cause that you need. But all that aside, that's what they're going to be limited to examining, and the defense is going to try to get way outside of that, but they'll be reeled back in.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting.
Mm-mm.
Just reading here to see if there's anything else anyone had. I think that pretty much covers though. I just wanted to get on here. Thank you, Jennifer, for doing it. I just wanted to explain to everyone. You can read the if you want to read the full search warrant. I put a link on my Twitter. It's on newsnationnow.com. Again, a lot of it is repetitive from the probable cause affidavit, but there are some new nuggets in there for sure. You just kind of have to read it closely. So thank you for coming on, Jennifer.
No, thank you, and thank you, Twitter Nation. I love Twitter. I love what I love, Brian. These Everybody involved, they are so invested. They know so many facts and so many details, and such big thinkers too. I just love it. They bring all their experience into these cases, and so big shout out for everybody who took the time to listen in tonight.
Yeah, they think of, I mean, everybody on here thinks of things that I would never think of in terms of questions. And like you said, everybody has their own life experiences that they bring to this, which really adds so much, I mean, it's like, we don't know everything, and it's like, you can't think of everything, and people really help out. We'll be on this obviously this week. If anything else develops, I was telling Jennifer, I'm going to be going to South Carolina this weekend for the Alec Murdaugh trial.
Ooh.
Which, if you've been following that, is a really crazy story in
Yes,
South Carolina. That starts on Monday with jury selection, and we're doing a big special Sunday night on News Nation, which will be anchored by Marnie Hughes. That'll be part of that'll be Sunday night. So
all right.
that'll be crazy, and
I
that'll
think
kind of
that
take over my life
concludes
starting next week.
Brian Entin.
But we'll still be on this cover.
Let's leave this real quick, because he's giving his goodbyes. Okay, so a couple things. No murder weapon found, and shout out to everybody. But I wanted to highlight this comment that William made. Shout out to William. He says, "So still no concrete evidence. Unreal. 2 months to test the stain. So obviously it wasn't the victim's DNA because they got Brian's DNA magical back in the day. I think they got Brian's DNA from his father, based on I don't want to like." My understanding is that they got it through the dad and they made the match that way. That is what the unsealed search warrant says. But I'm not really sure in terms of all of that if it's necessarily concrete. One thing that Jennifer did say that I thought was a very interesting point to make was it seemed like maybe there's more that should have been collected that wasn't, whether it's clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. Some of you guys are saying, well, was it dark, bushy eyebrows? How could you see blood? Was blood? We really don't know. And so much can be speculated from that, right? I don't know. And yeah, I've heard of two other cases. I saw the case, I think it's in California, where the execution style that included a 10-month-old baby, and a very young mom as well. And then there's another case that really intrigued me that happened too, of the two public defenders, one of which they were honeymooning in not California, in Mexico. They were honeymooning in Mexico, in Rosarito, and the husband fell 4 stories And the family from the husband's side is saying that he was killed. I posted that on my community tab. I was very curious about that situation. I don't know, you guys. It is 99.9%. Yep, thank you, Lex. Shout out to you. There is some accuracy there as well. Yeah, surely they have his DNA by now. Yeah, I think they have his DNA. We could probably say that for sure. That's for sure. But the DNA collected, I believe, initially was from his father's side. Shout out to Christopher. I thought I saw a comment, one of your comments in here, Christopher from Facebook. Another American. Yep, yep. That's the case that kind of intrigues me at this point. I don't see what anybody says Brian's dad sketch, the whole him flying out and him driving back. I don't know. Well, yes. I'm wondering because it kind of, and maybe this happened a lot with the whole Gabby Petito case with the Laundries knowing about what their son did and kind of hushing up about it. I think a lot of people are feeling some type of way about that, um, and the relationship that it plays with the suspect, right? And then you have the family. How far are they willing to cover for them? I mean, clearly they covered a lot for in that case, at least. Yep. Shout out to Generally Jenny. It could take up a month to get back. Bobby says all the evidence will come out at trial. The prosecution isn't going to give all the information about the evidence they have the public until then. It would compromise the jury pool. I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Dad is knowing, unknowing, or worked in law enforcement since Christopher potentially. Potentially, we don't know. Rabbit, I've seen no big talk about Jennifer Brown was missing and they just found her body. I haven't heard from Jennifer. I haven't heard of a Jennifer Brown case. Let me know, BB Gen 1. If you want to shoot me an email, shoot me an email. That are you Phil? I don't know. I don't know. Did you see his dad wearing the Life is Good hoodie while he was cleaning his yard? No. I did not. Oh my gosh. I have are they gonna go protest at his house too? I'm a little traumatized, but I'm not you know what? I'm just like, everybody deals with trauma a little bit different. And I'm just thinking in my mind, what do you make of it when your son who you've raised, okay, is being accused of this? Okay, he's incarcerated. I don't know. What do you do? But wear a Life is Good hoodie and go clean your yard. I don't know. How do you bring some normalcy to the situation? I don't know how. I don't know how. It is an interesting choice. I'm not debating that. That hoodie, don't read that much into it. It's a very interesting choice of clothing, though. It's like, I don't know. They only searched his apartment after his arrest on December 30th. There has been a gag order in place. The search warrant for his apartment has been unsealed. Yes, generally, Jenny. Yet everything they find in the Walsh case, they tell us, interesting. Absolutely. There's no gag order in the Walsh's case. I saw that there. Let's see. Let's see. Do not troll or dox anyone, please. Absolutely not. That doesn't mean anything dude can clean his yard. Yeah, he can clean his yard. It's just an observation. I would agree. I would agree. I would also observe the same. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very observant about things like that. So I would probably say the same. Rabbit, it's done stuff going on in Memphis. I've been following, and law enforcement don't know if it's a serial killer or hanging issue. Are you serious, Rico? Rico, shoot me an email. Let me know if you have a link or a story. Sorry, I got a call to that. I haven't heard anything about that. See, I try to kind of explore stories. I'm gonna tell you the stories that I have a really hard time with are involving children. Like when they said about Athena's, I'm like, guys, you guys were messaging me about that one. I said, here's my email. I said, I don't know if I can do that one. I'm just being honest. It's just so hard to do stories when it involves children. It's a hard thing for me to do. Honestly, it triggers me a little bit. I would be interested to know for how far BK traveled out of his comfort zone, Utah, Arizona, I would agree. No, they don't have to put everything out there. They found only things in the Washington State University police possession. Can you imagine if you were sharing an office with Bryan Kohberger and then like you're that person that's sharing the office and you don't even know you're sharing an office with someone that is accused of a quadruple murder? I don't know. That's crazy. Generally, Jenny says, I've been wearing a shirt that says, I love coffee. After a cup of coffee, murdered 3 people. Lord, stop. I just don't know how you bring some normalcy to that. You know, it's a hard thing. I bet they're traumatized knowing that, right? Bobby says the kid stories make it does. And like I said, kid stories are hard for me because I have my own PTSD with that. That maybe one day I'll share a little bit more, but not right now. They just kid stories, I can't. Like kids' bodies being hidden, I can't do that. That should just I know too much. I've seen too much and I can't even tell you half of it. And I would need like to be in a good space to even talk about those kind of stories. It's no good, Pigeon Mac, no good. So that's why I try to kind of not really touch those. If you see like if there's a breaking news, maybe I might do it. But even this Athena Strand story, I couldn't even I had a hard time reading that complaint. I couldn't do it. So with this other Athena Brownfield, I said no. No, 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 no. The babies, the killing of babies, I can't. It's very hard for me. But anyways, guys, what do you guys think about this situation? Now, William brought up a very good point, I think, before I let you go. Something to think about. As far as like, did they collect enough? Do you feel like there's like in this unsealed warrant, should they have added clothing to their searches? It's kind of I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there might be something more to this. I don't know. Cadillac says reminds me of Melania Trump. Read the room. Oh my gosh. True, true. Yes. Hey, Caprice, welcome. Yeah, Caprice, did you notice that the clothing part? I'm surprised maybe they're not telling us more. Maybe there's more. We just don't know. Maybe there's more. We just don't know. Right? Hey, Nicole. Oh, I'm sorry. For those that are watching the replay, please hit that like button. This isn't all, remember, just the tip of the iceberg until the trial. Well, it was 49 pages. I've got words. Like, I'm like, what else is there? But there could be more that we just don't know. They did, if you read it, it says clothing, black and blue clothing. Does it? I didn't feel like in the search warrant, not in the items that they collected. I mean, they did, but I just thought that there would be more. I mean, if they mentioned that, I thought that there would be a little bit more View Galaxy than that. You know, I don't know, because just even by hearing Jennifer Coffindaffer, she said the same too. She says she expected a little bit more clothing. Mm-mm. The warrant they didn't find any. I see. I don't know. It took me forever to go through this. No, they didn't collect clothing. It does take forever, but it's worth kind of going over it slowly. I had to go over it slowly later on after I got off because it's a lot. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go because I gotta go tend to baby bunny. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming back and joining me with this Twitter Spaces. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening because I gotta get out, guys. You guys have a great rest of your night.